Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the New Media Show. My name is Todd Cochrane, and I'm joined by a I didn't know if you're going to make it this morning, Rob. Very semi-sick Rob Greenlee. Good morning, Rob. How are you?
Good morning, Todd. Yeah, I think I caught something at Podcon.
I think I got lucky and dodged a bullet. Of course, I had a little runny nose, but nothing like, you sound like you just got...
I know it's just really more of a sore throat at this point.
No.
But that happens this time of the year. It's happens to everybody, I think.
So. Yeah, so we may be going a little slow today.
Yes, slow and short, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, but boy, oh my God, there is an incredible amount of stuff going on in the news. And I know, people are like, oh my God, your guys' show is going to be like 3 hours today. And I'm like, well, maybe not.
No, that's right.
So before we get into the Apple Podcast stats announcement, the IAB announcement, let's just take some time and tell those that weren't there what we found at Podcon. And Jen, to save your voice, I think if it's okay, I'll go first.
Yeah, go ahead.
There was a couple of things that stuck out to me, and let me just set the stage a little bit. Big hall, not very many vendors, maybe 10 vendors, and then activity centers. And I kind of walked around because I got there just as the show opened. I flew in Saturday morning, and Mackenzie, one of my team members from Blueberry, met me at the door and put my badge on. And as she's walking in, I said, you go ahead. I'll kind of do a, roundabout scan here real quick. And there was this wall that was empty, and there was a little signboard next to it. And it said, use this area to create fake podcast show flyers, announcements. Basically and they had materials there, scrap paper and newspaper stuff and all kinds of things that people could creatively use to make a fake flyer for a newspaper. And I kind of looked at that, and quite frankly, I kind of rolled my eyes. And I'm not a creative type at all. And I just walked away, and I got to the booth and got to start to talking to people. And within about 30 minutes, I realized this is a completely new demographic of potential podcast fans, podcasters. This was unlike anything I have seen anywhere else. Rob, what do you think about is that a true statement?
Yeah, I mean, it's a completely different age group and demographic group that has an interest in podcasting now. They were very creative and passionate people. I call it kind of the young storyteller class, and it's really that simple. This is the ComicCon generation. This is the same people that built early shows on YouTube. But YouTube has been around a while now, so this is a new group of podcasters that are all of a sudden got really, really interested in podcasting after a few podcasts came out, like Lore and others out there that were had kind of a fantasy aspect to them, and it really got them really connecting up with characters. And they would come to this show dressed in characters, like what they do at Comic-Con.
Yeah. And there was
go ahead, Todd.
There was probably 30, 40 that were dressed up in podcast character. So the characters from Lore or characters from different podcasts, they were dressed up Comic-Con style as those characters. And so as we talk to people, and they're very polite, very nice, little socially awkward, but very creative folks, friendly. I can be honest with you, really friendly crowd, very polite, and not a single one. I think I ran into 2 or 3 podcasters that had regular shows. Let me. I shouldn't say that way. Had more shows that I'm accustomed to hearing from at events like this. So I think I talked to one guy that's got a current sports show and a couple others, but like 1, 2, 3, and then I talked to 200, 300 that all they wanted to create was a storyline type of show that revolved around a certain topic, maybe even completely scripted. This was and I've been saying for a long, long time, and those of you that have followed me, we need more storytellers in the space. There's a lot of storytellers right now, don't get me wrong, but we need more of this class of storytellers. And we'll see what develops from this group. I left pretty excited that this, brand new. It was just different. It really was. And that board that I kind of, when I first saw it, kind of did the eye roll on. It was plastered end to end, both sides. People sitting around the tables. I took pictures. I was astounded because I don't think we'd have seen that at any other type of event. And it was, I'm like, wow. I have no artistic ability, none. When I draw pictures of people, it's like a 3rd grader stick figure. Okay. Yeah. That's the extent of my artistic ability. But these folks are, I took snap with my phone, each section, and I'll see if I can post some of that up on Facebook. But it was really, from a crowd standpoint, I was thrilled, and all over the place. Of course, a heavy Seattle-centric group, but also Europe, Australia. There wasn't as many of those, but people came from, a long ways.
Well, and also, all around the country too. It wasn't just a Seattle event. There was people there from Canada,
in Chicago,
people there from down in California. There was a lot of people from California there.
East Coast folks, absolutely.
Yep.
But there was, in all saying all that, it's a first year event, and we've got a lot of feedback for that team. The session rooms were way over there. Like I think someone said at least a 5-minute walk to the session rooms, but they had enough activities in the where the small number of exhibitors were that they were all, they all came to the hall to do stuff. Now, Rob and I were on the scavenger hunt path, and we both gave away prizes. Spreaker did, Blueberry did. Matter of fact, I haven't heard who won yet. We haven't been notified to get their prize to them. So we'll have to reach out to the Podcon team. But the thing that was amazing to me is people would stand 3-4 deep, politely waiting in line to talk to us, and they just didn't come out and say, "Give me my sticker." It was, "What do you guys do? How can you help us?" Actually asking questions, and if they were a listener, said, "I'm a listener, I'm not going to do a podcast," and we gave them a sticker and off they went. But I don't know. I was just thrilled.
Yeah, I had as many as 5 or 6 people, maybe higher than that, at my booth all at the same time, and so I had to give a presentation to fairly large groups of people at the same time, because if I was the only one there. Todd,
yep.
You had some help.
Yeah, Mackenzie and I were tag teaming. Yeah, I take one on each side. Yeah.
Yep. But I would present the Spreaker platform to groups of people, not just individuals, and that's kind of unusual. I don't typically do that at trade shows. I think the only time I did that really in the past was at the NRB, when I was the only one working the booth at the National Religious Broadcasters Conference. But yeah, we usually come with a bunch of people. We just didn't know what to expect at this show. And then when I got there, I kind of got it. I kind of got it. I didn't really get it, what was going on with this event before I got there.
Right. Me too.
Couldn't really tell. You couldn't really tell from their list of speakers or the topics that this is what was really going on.
Yeah. What do you think the head count was? I said there was probably close to 1,000 people there.
I was thinking between 1,000 and 1,200 that's my guess.
Yeah. So overall, I'm just pretty jazzed with the entire turnout of the event. It really was. And
Todd, it's going to be interesting, at the final closing kind of ceremonies that they did. Hank Green, who's the organizer of the event, was a little wishy-washy about whether or not it was coming back.
Do you think they were expecting 3,000 people like they get at VidCon?
I think they get 6,000 people at VidCon.
Really?
Yeah. It's a much bigger event, so they may have been hoping for 2,000 to 3,000 at least. But it is, it is the largest first-year podcasting event that I've ever seen.
Oh, by far.
Yeah, but it may not be enough for those guys.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's a big venue.
But I'll be honest with you. It is a demographic that's
real.
It's real and underserved.
Well, it's there, and we didn't really know it was there.
No, didn't even know.
And it is very much linked up with Comic-Con. I mean, I've seen a little bit of this at Comic-Con. I used to go to that conference down in San Diego, and it was very much like this. But most of the podcasts about TV shows and comic books have been more about fan podcasts. It wasn't groups of teens getting together and creating an audio drama, and that's kind of what we're looking at here. This is what's unique about this, is that some of these folks that came up to my booth were working with their friends to, one was a writer, and then another one, a few of them that were kind of trying to become actors, and they were trying to work together to come up with another lore or another storytelling podcast that would hit the big time and maybe become a TV show or a movie or something. That's what their ambitions were.
Yeah. And it was definitely an 18 to 32,
22, 23.
Well, the whole range. But I definitely was feeling, we were the old guys.
We were definitely old guys.
We probably would have been, be honest with you, strategy-wise, better served to, send the youngest people in the office to that event.
Yeah. No, I thought about that a lot afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah. Todd did not need to be there talking to these young creators, because they look at me like, So I deferred as much as I could to Mackenzie. Just different, the closer age.
Yeah.
So it was definitely an interesting event. I'm excited. I'm thrilled where this potential group could go. And someone took offense to something I said on Twitter about these. They said, well, there's creators out here already. Well, we know there's creators out there. We need more creators, and these are really it's a really different group. A different demographic.
But they're not. But we didn't know that there was creators that were 16, 17 years old that were doing this.
Right. And
wanted to do it, wanted to do it. It's probably a better way.
And come to me with ideas that I'm like, wow. I'm just like, that just came out of your mouth. Wow. I was like, wow. I was like, holy cow. So,
well, one example here that will kind of clarify what we're saying here is, though the woman that hired me into the Zune job to run podcasting at Microsoft, she was my manager for about a year and a half. Her daughter went to that event. If that tells you who we're talking about here,
right?
So it's like, really, even my daughter, who's 28 wouldn't go to this event.
Yeah.
So
anyway, that was Podcon, and so the Podcon team, if you guys want to chat, I think we're more than happy to give you feedback. We decide you want to do year 2. I think you can have a much bigger event, a follow-on year. Just needs some tweaks to the platform, because there was a couple of podcast like 101 type of sessions that from what Dave Jackson was there, part of helping the Podfest team, was a little cringeworthy from some of the advice that they were giving out. So again, we didn't know any of the speakers. To a person, I didn't know any of them. Knew the shows that were there, but not some of the presenters. I was completely oblivious to some of the folks or most of the folks that were there. So, Rob, a couple of things. Do we want to talk about the Omni Disclosure?
Yeah, I think we should.
So, Omni earlier
Maybe more you should, because I can't speak very well.
Well, Omni released a blog post. We think they did it largely because Apple was getting released their podcast stats, and they released their secret sauce to how they were measuring plays in the IAB, in the Apple Podcast app. So we had asked them to come on multiple times and defend their claims, and they refused to come on the show and talk about it. But it turns out that as we kind of suspected, progressive downloads was part of their equation, which is not new. But what they did do.
Well, and it's not what they claimed they were doing either.
That's the thing. But they purposely throttled mobile connections and made the download slower on purpose,
so they could track the progressive download playback.
Right. Yeah. So they purposely made the experience for their listeners worse, slowed the speed down of the audio delivery file so that all the chunks wouldn't get delivered at once. So in other words, when you have a slower delivery of a file, that it'll do a little bit at a time. When you have a good connection, it goes chunk, 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 and it delivers it all. So I'm just like, okay, that's how you did it. Okay, all right, touche. But at the same time, it's not
Todd,
exactly what
they would have been better off not saying anything.
They shouldn't have, because there's been a lot of back channel discussion about this. And we've been doing progressive download and measurement for many, many years, and measuring the number of chunks of a media file that has been delivered. But still, it didn't paint the whole picture. It gave them about this much of an insight into what was happening.
But Todd, they were claiming that was a glimpse into playback after download.
Right.
As I recall.
Right.
Yeah.
They playback after download. We are measuring that. No, they were not. Absolutely not. So, we got crushed. We got blasted in the face by, I did especially, by a certain reporter. I hope you're listening. How do you feel? How do you feel now that you got duped? That's the question. And we all know how media is delivered. We've been around this game long enough, and we know that you can't measure. Now you can. Now you get the data from Apple, at least on the partial data on the podcast iOS app. So it's funny how they shouldn't have said nothing. They should have kept their mouth shut. because we would have never, they would have been off the radar. We'd have never talked about them again.
Yeah.
So anyway, it is what it is. Okay. So, of course, Apple did promise between Thanksgiving and about the 15th of December that they would launch the podcast analytics. And yes, they are on the street. 14th, they were made live. I'm not hearing a lot. We're listening to what podcasters are having to say, but it's eerily quiet. Any thoughts to that, Rob? I'm surprised there isn't already people flipping out.
Well, I think to some degree, and this was happening early on when they announced it, is people are having a hard time finding it in the interface. It's in an area that you wouldn't necessarily go click on. So that's part of it. I don't know if you got that feedback or not, but it's up right next to the iTunes Connect logo.
Mm-hmm.
Off to the right, there's like a little drop down.
Well, there was a little
there.
I saw an actual icon that said stats or something to that effect, or metrics, or there was a.
Did you? I didn't see that. If I go to the actual My Podcast area, it doesn't actually give you any leads into that.
And I was actually on a laptop when I was looking at it, and I logged in and I could see that my show listings, and then maybe I clicked up on the top to figure out where the stats were. But anyway, it's not that hard to find. But
yeah,
let's talk about what did you see, Rob, in your data. Let's talk about this show. I sent some screenshots over, and see if I can find those. The thing that blew me away was that, you know, this show we do 90 minutes, right? And sometimes we ramble. So for this show, you guys stay with us about, it looks to me, on the last show we did an hour and 14 minutes, their average consumption was 134%. So that means some of you listened twice. On the week before, when we did a 54-minute show, you guys only stayed about 3/4 of the way through the show. And that show, we kind of ran out of stuff for you. So I'm not surprised. And then on the hour and 18-minute show, 3 episodes ago, you guys hung out to 80% with us. Now, average-wise, across all the episodes that they've measured so far, high 90s for this show for... how long you have hung with the show once you start listening in the podcast iOS app. But the data's a little thin right now.
Yeah.
And I think some of you are going to have more questions, because the first thing I did was I took Apple's number and I went down to a day, a very specific day. And then I loaded my Blueberry stats, and I loaded this episode, and I went to a day, and I went to the iOS app, and I looked at the delta. Now, the big confusion, this is where people's heads are going to explode. In iOS 11, they made some changes, and what's happening now is the user agent being presented by... And I don't know if Apple did this on purpose because of the stats. It has me suspicious. But if you play a show on an Apple device, or you use the iOS app to play the show, the user agent shows up the same. It looks the same. There's no discernible difference between them. So your number, and it's going to be this way unless we figure out a way to subdivide it again. In all of the podcast hosts, your iOS number is going to be bigger than the number Apple's giving you. But I think what it's also going to tell you is number of subscribers versus number of people that come in and actively play. And I'm trying to get my head wrapped around that dynamic, and I need to spend a couple of weeks looking at how this tracks out. but I think we're going to be able to tell very, very quickly what the ratio is. At least I'm thinking, and it would be better, Apple, if you're listening, please, please, please give the Podcast iOS app a unique user agent so we can see when it downloads and when it plays that it is different than someone in just a browser or whatever. Okay, please do that so that we can break the iOS app out separately. So there's going to be a delta. You're going to have a higher number, and people are going to say, well, my stats are wrong. Apple says 82, and you're saying 164. You know, what's the real number? And it's the 164 is the real number because, again, it looks the same in the log data.
Yeah.
Now, Angela would have to come in and do the technical description of this. This is what he's told me, is what I understand. Because, you know, I'm on the phone with him. I'm like, why? You know, I'm doing this. Why is this a delta? Why is there a difference here? And he's explaining to me that with iOS 11, that's the way it is. So, and plus, I know it's going to be interesting. No one's saying too much yet, but you know, I heard from a couple people. One person was really jazzed. Let's see if I can bring this up. They said, my TV show fan podcast is usually 90 minutes or more, and you expect lower completion rates. No, I'm looking at an average of 98% completion rate. So this is huge. And we want to hear from you guys. What are you guys seeing in the stats they've given you so far? And I think they've only been collecting since November 14th. At least that's the window we're looking at.
I have stats in my area that are fully built out going back to October 11th.
Really?
Yep.
The earliest data in any of mine is November 14th.
Wow.
So they must have rolled.
That's not very much data. Yeah.
They must have rolled people in a little bit, you know, little bit by little bit. I thought all the stats were coming from the same user agent, iOS 11 from the podcast app. It's basically it all looks the same. On iOS 11, that usage all looks the same. App, player, it looks the same. So this is
plus it doesn't focus on using terminology to describe a listener.
No.
It uses terminology like devices.
Number of devices. Yeah.
Yeah. So a user can have multiple devices.
That's right. I've got an iPhone and it's actually two iPads. You know? So it is a bit of a there's going to be confusion. And I'm just going to have to I think we're all going to have to take some time and see how this data develops and figure it out, because just remember, again, this is data only, strictly from the podcast iOS app, just the podcast app, their app.
On iOS 11.
On
right?
iOS 11 only. Right.
Only. So this is just a very small snapshot. It depends on what the adoption of iOS 11 is. I'm pretty sure it's a pretty high percentage of it.
Yeah.
Is the adoption. But there's still a lot of older devices out there that are consuming podcasts, even some iPods, I'm sure.
Another person that we talked to said, I have some of my episodes with over 130% completion rate per device. What does that mean? Repeated unique devices?
It could be.
It could be.
It could be. So you start listening on an iPhone and you finish it on an iPod.
I don't know if that's what that means.
I don't know either for sure.
So
I agree with you.
We'll have to wait until Apple comes out and explains this. But does it mean someone's listened twice on the same device? Or do they not have their logarithm down very good and they just say they stopped and they came back? And they count that as two. We don't know, you know?
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing.
I had quite a few that were over 100%.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Plus, I also noticed, I mean, Todd, if you look at this show, what's your percentage of subscribed?
Oh, I don't have it open right now. I'll have to look. What was
Oh, you
yours?
don't? For the Spreaker Live show was 96%.
Really? 96% were subscribed.
Yep. Only 4% were not subscribed.
Oh, holy shit. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All right.
That's download right there.
Wow. That's an article in itself, Rob.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, and if that holds true across lots of podcaster shows, you know, there's gonna be some people that's been pushing this other
play.
It's gonna decimate that. All right, I got to do my two-factor authentication. I'm logging in.
Well, as you think about it, the experience is not a whole lot different than that, right? Just because you subscribe, you're still going into the episode list and just click play. But it's just a matter of whether or not it's on your device or not is the distinction.
Yeah. Sorry, so I'm logging in now to the site and my podcast, and I got to find, so I've got Blueberry Podcast in here too. Let me go down to, where's it? I'm blind as a bat this morning. All right. Okay, there.
So, Todd, on the whole devices question, it does say in the little pop-up window, it says unique devices.
It says unique devices.
It says unique devices. So that would tell me that would be a unique device to a unique user, wouldn't it?
I would think so, yes.
Or is a unique device a different device, an iPad or versus a iPhone?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yep.
Where the hell is this link? I'm confused.
Okay, here's a little description. It says data includes devices with iOS 11 or iTunes 12.7 or later.
Okay.
So I don't know what's the latest iTunes software that's out there.
Yeah, I'd have to look. Okay, so here I'm logging in, new media show, audio, and where do we find which menu has the percentage of subscribed?
It's on your page that says, and it's the overview page.
The overview page.
Yeah, where it has the number of devices, total time listened, and time per device at the very top of the page. Per show.
Okay, I've got time per device, total time listened, devices, but I don't see a percentage where it says subscribe. Oh.
It says total time listened. Yeah.
99%.
Yeah, there you go.
90,
I have 4% that are just clicking play, Todd.
Is that right? Is that possible? That 99% of the people that listen to this show are subscribed?
Todd, because your audience has been with you for so many years.
That's this is the new media. Trained. This is the new media show.
Oh, this show. Well, I'm sure. I mean, a lot of people that listen to this show have been listening to podcasts for years. Of course, they're going to subscribe, right?
Be honest with you, I question that number. I am doubting Thomas here, largely because that means everyone that since you listen to the show is subscribed.
Yeah,
and
I can believe it. Todd. It doesn't surprise me.
So that means no one is going into the podcast iOS app randomly on this show and hitting play.
Probably not. We have our listener base.
All right, so
probably fairly locked.
All right, let me back out of here. Let me go to another one. Let's look at Okay, so this is a fairly new show, your podcast I do with Mike Dell. 98% subscribe. All right, let me back out. Let me go look at another one. Oh, here's one. 7324.
Oh.
And this is actually a show that we're trying to get transferred because a gal in the way in the beginning was so technologically not inclined. She asked me to register her show for her, and we're having trouble getting it moved over. I've been sending her screenshots. 7327 is her show. Let me load up the rest of them are all Blueberry shows. Let's go down and look at the PowerPress Podcast Community Podcast. What is that one? 96%. What else? Oh, let me look at my special media feed. Now, this should be interesting because this show only has video in it. Spinning. Oh, it's only a video show. 82% subscribed. So, kind of makes sense if you think about it.
Yeah.
What else do I have in this that I can look at? You got some Tech Podcast Network ones. I'm surprised we'll even have any data. Oh, let's look at the new media show video. Not enough data. So there's no data for new media show video. So maybe no one subscribed on the video one. So that's, and a lot of people are getting that too. Not enough data. So does that mean that that no one's listening on the app, or they don't meet a criteria? Here's a show that one's 88%. So again, if these numbers hold true, I have to do it, Rob.
Maybe that's why nobody's talking about it, because their jaw hit the desk when they saw what was happening. Yeah, I mean, my Spreaker Live show, it's only showing 6 episodes.
Yeah.
Showing.
New media show is showing how many episodes? Let's look. It's got one. Oh, October 16th is the earliest one. Stuff is starting to backfill. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 episodes. Back to October 16th. So, it amazes me, really, even for this show. I'm looking at the listing time, and it's pretty simple. They take the number of devices multiplied by the total listing time and do an average. I just need to do the math here and see if that's how they're doing it. So they're probably doing device time, total listing time, and then average that, and then give you the average consent. This is straight math here. It doesn't look hard. I bet you if I run it on the calculator, it'll let me, matter of fact, let me load a calculator here. We'll do this live. Okay.
But I have to say that the overall kind of data capture set that's in here is pretty small.
Yeah, it is small. It is small. But it does give you some indication. So, this was a thing that really, so for me, when I see a device, what that tells me is that's probably a unique IP. They have a UID identifier. They can tell devices on their side that we can't. So our equivalent of this is a unique IP. So I told Angelo, I said, I opened up, we can turn on a setting in our stats to show the unique IPs. People want that sometimes. And I said, let's look at the delta here between number of devices that they say and the number of unique IPs we have. So what I think we may find, and this is, I'm going to be very careful in saying this, is that I think once the final analysis is done, the folks that like the active playing are going to win too, because we could see that it. Okay, so let's make a statement here. It looks like with the podcast iOS app, those that, at least on our shows, that listen are subscribed. But it doesn't account for all the iOS activity that we're seeing in our stats. So does that mean if I have, let's just use a number. Let's say we have 50 devices being shown subscribed to the show, and we end up with a number that is, we're seeing 80 uniques, or let's say 120 uniques. That means that at least 70 of those uniques are not subscribed, and they have listened by actively pushing play. So not in the iOS app, but on an iOS device. So that makes you go,
Yeah.
So I think it's just going to take some time to figure this out.
Yeah.
Tim says, if I subscribe to, well, go ahead.
Jump in and I mean, you just have to jump in and just play around.
Yeah.
Go look at the different queries and see what the data shows you.
Tim says, if I subscribe through a third-party app that pulls from Apple, does it show up in these stats? No, it doesn't. This is strictly the iOS podcast app. And here's what's going to happen. People are going to be wanting more now. This is just a teaser. I'm not worried about going out of business for people who just coming over here and using Apple's podcast stats.
Oh,
because it's such a small piece of the entire look.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But it's a big change for Apple, though.
Yeah. And let me look at this other show here in the trends. Oh, her date doesn't go back very far either. Well, she's got a show that's actually must be, this gal has some long tail. So that'll be another thing you'll be able to tell too, Rob. Because all these older episodes that you have in your stack, if you start seeing stats on those, that will mean that people are, are essentially going back and listening to back inventory. And they also break out devices by country as well. So did you have any diversity in your country numbers?
It looks like only U.S.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Maybe that's the only data they're capturing right now. I don't know.
Yeah, because all I'm seeing is U.S. as well. Let me go to this one. Yeah, United States. No, it says 82%. Oh, see all. Let me click that. Okay. So they don't list them. So I've got, here's the weird part. So I've got, is this just a number or a percentage? No, this is by device. Oh, that's interesting. So split between the United States and all. Oh, no. They include all countries and then the United States. So where's the ratio there? That's about 90% U.S.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I see.
But they
Canada's in there.
Yeah, mine doesn't have Canada listed. It just says all countries and United States.
Yeah, I went to Canada and it shows no data is available.
Okay.
So if I go to if I went to the UK, there's no data available.
There's also the ability to pull down. It says in the trend, and maybe it's out in all these episodes, you've got the ability to do subscribed and not subscribed. So you've got the ability to switch from all devices to subscribed, and wow, that's weird.
Yeah, there's no data. Oh wait.
Yeah, I have no data for not subscribed, but you and you're like 99%. There isn't, right? Let me go back to this other show that has the I had the big split that's in my account. All right, I need to pull down. Yeah, their navigation is interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Can I look at all shows? Oh, no, I can't. I can't look at a global view. All right, now let's go to this part. So we're just, those of you that are listening, you're like, what the hell are they talking about? I go to a specific thing. I'll get there this way. All right, then by non-subscribed. Oh yeah, this person's got a good split, so they've got not subscribed data too. So yeah, it's an interesting. I think there's going to be a lot of questions. I think people are going to be like, I think there's going to, I tell my team, refer all questions to Apple, and people are like, who do I contact at Apple?
Todd, if you go to a help area, if you go up to that drop down, that's right next to the logo at the very top, the iTunes Connect logo.
Yeah.
And click on that drop down and go to help and resources.
Okay. I'm in help and resources.
Okay. Open that up. There's a video.
Oh, really?
That's there. It's called Podcast Connect Basics. I don't know if it talks about this stuff or not.
Okay. I'm looking at apps, books, movies, music, TV, podcasts. Is it under podcasts?
Podcasts.
Oh, okay. Some of the stuff has been in there. Oh, that's interesting. Videos. Let me load this up. All right. I'm scrolling through here real quick. I don't think so. Yeah, I don't see any things for stats in there.
Oh, okay. It's an older.
Yeah,
it's an older video.
Older video. So anyway, I think that's enough on Apple stats. Now here's the deal, folks. This is early, and everyone is going to be looking this over with a fine-tooth comb. I think I'm liking this additional data, but it definitely doesn't give me. It just gives me such a small picture of things at this point. I don't know, how much. It's so there is a feedback link on that website. So what I would ask is if you are in this system, and first of all, we have to understand that the Apple Podcast team, I think we're lucky to have this at this point. So if you do submit them feedback, and again, there's a submit your feedback button at the top of this thing. Please, 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 be constructive. Don't go on blast. Because a little sugar goes a lot further than a little spice. So, just give them good feedback, constructive feedback, and we'll see where this leads. But I don't know. What do you? It's cool, but I don't think I'll spend much time in here, to be honest with you.
Well, Todd, one thing we didn't talk about was the visibility of being able to see when devices drop off during the duration of playback.
Yeah.
And that's been really, really interesting to see.
And is that under trends, or where's that listed at?
You go under each of the episodes.
Oh, you have to go to an episode. Okay.
Yeah.
So let me take the one where we did, let me find when it's dropped off. So let's take the example of the one that was a 1 hour and 18 minute, and we had 80% consumption rate. So let me click on that. Oh, okay. So this show, we lost people. This is weird. This is really wow.
So it focuses on drop off of devices at different points in the program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm starting at the beginning. lost one within 6 minutes, gained one. That's weird. The number went up.
Yeah.
Okay, down. Okay, at 30 minutes, I lost 2. Again, we've got these real high 99% drop-off rates. So this is not, how you're just losing onesie, twosies. Okay, so at about an hour, I lost 2. Then I gained 2. It's like they come back. What do they do? Scrub ahead? And then hour 16, from the beginning of the show to the end, I lost 9 devices. So,
Yeah.
Okay, it doesn't give me much, Rob.
Well, the trend line that I saw with it was over, the data set that I saw with the Spreaker live show was from the point of start to the point of finish, it was about a 40 to 50% drop off of devices.
Really?
Was the approximate percentage if you look at the beginning to the end.
Uh-huh.
So,
but when you drop off and then you jump back up, what does that mean? Does that mean people have scrubbed ahead? Because it should be like this. It shouldn't be like instead it goes.
Yeah, it's like a jagged line.
Yeah.
I got the same thing in mind too.
So
I'm not sure what that means, if people are fast forwarding or what they're doing. I don't know.
So they do have total time listened, time per device. So let me see. This is the average time episode has been listened to per device. So for this episode that I'm looking at, the average listening time was 1 hour and 18 minutes. How long was the show? The show was 1 hour 38. On this show, 95% of the devices were subscribed, and the average consumption rate on this show was 80%. How much of an episode has been played per device? 80%. So we definitely, but I think our biggest drop was, and again, it's just onesie, twosie. So how do you say it's the biggest drop? At about an hour. But it was like 5 devices. So it's not like I have this 35 devices left,
Yeah.
Let me go to an episode that had, let's look at the episode that had the 134% consumption.
Yeah.
And let's look at that one and to figure out how. Okay. Start to finish, we didn't lose anybody. And then we had peaks at about 8 minutes. I wonder if someone is telling someone, you need to listen to, 8 minutes to 10 minutes or something like that. Because they see this bump, a couple of bumps, distinct bumps. And what we could do, and this is what podcasters should do, is when you see this exceeding 100%, well, it doesn't, no, it's not over 100%. It's 100%, but yet 134% consumption. Okay, I don't get it. This part I don't understand. Because the number never goes over 100%. But yet it says 134% consumption. I'm confused. They're going to have to explain where that number comes from. It must be re-listens or something. I don't know.
So that's how many people are listening is something different than how far they're listening. Right?
Yeah, because again, they're talking about devices, Rob. They're not talking about. They're not talking
about a unique listener.
All right. So yeah, it is definitely interesting information. All right, we want to hear your feedback. What's your confusion? You can email us here real easy, Todd@blueberry.com or Rob@Greenlee.com or Rob@Spreaker.com. We want to hear what you think about the analytics in iTunes Connect. Do you have anything? Is it blank for you? We got some podcasters I know that's blank, relatively new podcasters. I don't know how big their audiences are. I haven't looked at their stats. But, and it also, one thing we don't show here is this over time. They don't show, they don't give you when they listen. There's no data here on to know if they listen 5 days after you release the episode or, well, yeah, can you narrow the time? Let me narrow the, oh, I can't. Because I can't put a date range in here. I can't go, at least, let me go back to episodes to see if I can change the date. Okay, no, I can't. I can narrow what I see, but the picture they give me is everything. That sucks. Because I'd like to do a date range, you know what I mean? Just show me December 4th to December 6th. I only want to see that period. You can't do that in this system. At least I don't think so.
Plus, Todd, there's really no visibility in the stats that I've seen that will tell you whether or not a downloaded episode has been played.
Well, this is supposed to.
But how do you kind of isolate that?
That's my understanding, is that that's the whole purpose of this, is to know those that have subscribed if they've actually listened or not, or at least, well, it's telling you how many have listened. It's not telling you how many are subscribed. There.
I guess if your subscribe number is really high, that means that the data that you're seeing is data off of downloaded MP3 files, right?
Yeah, potentially.
But there's no drop down that says this is the data for completed downloads. This is the data for click play experiences. But I guess at the end of the day, there is no distinction for the user on whether it's downloaded or playing as progressive download.
Eileen asked, does this mean that Apple stats are not IAB compliant? These are not even, I'm sure if you want to report just podcast app subscribers, yeah, but it doesn't tell the whole picture. You know, this is, I don't know how, I think what you use this data for is this goes in your deck. You know, this goes in your deck that over 25 episodes, once this thing gets more data, you're going to say, okay, you can put that chart in there and you can show what what your, how long they listen. And this is going to build, trust with the advertiser. Say, yes, we have some ancillary data here, even though it's only one data set of podcast iOS apps, that yes, we know on episode 192, where we talked about smart speakers on the episode, that at least on the podcast iOS app, during the ad spot at 10 minutes, we had X number of devices that listened to that spot. But again, that is such a small number of the total picture of everything.
Yeah, it's like a survey sample almost.
It is. It's a survey. It is a survey sample. But it's a good survey sample.
Well, it's real data.
Yeah.
Real data.
So, but I think there's going to be in here, this is the story you're going to have to come up with for it. And this is going to be part of your sales deck. This is not how you're going to do billing. I'm not going to bill off this. No. But I'm going to be able to sell, saying my show, I can have an ad at 45 minutes, and I know that 80% of my audience at 45 minutes on average is still listening in the podcast iOS app, or 90, or whatever your number is. And this can also help you optimize where to drop the ad. So if I look at the new media show where we did just an hour, I would drop an ad at 10 minutes, and I would drop an ad at 25 minutes. And then that would be at in the 97th percentile of everyone that listened on the podcast app would get the two ads. And you'll see over time where you should do the drops. But it's
also Yeah, it also points out the importance of subscriptions still.
Yeah, absolutely. And it also, okay, so now when I'm down at the end, when I'm at the 53, 54, 55 mark, I know that at least on episode 192, we were down to 70%. So doing a post roll at that point probably is not going to get as much bang for the buck. So this is where you have to start planning your show, okay? Put a teaser in at the beginning. At the end of the show, I've got a giveaway, or I've got something special to tell you, or whatever it may be. Give them incentive to listen to the end. I think this is going to be big on people planning their shows. They're going to see where they're being effective and where they're not. From my data that I'm looking at here, Rob, we have to change nothing.
We're doing okay.
Yeah, we're doing fine. Oh, here it is. Here it is. On the trend line, device by episode. Okay, here. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So let me pick episode 190. All right. Oh, this is a curve that is very familiar to me. Oh, okay. The episode dropped on, this is fantastic. Oh, beautiful. On November 23rd, the episode dropped. And it went just like this. It take a hockey stick, folks, lay it on the floor, do it so the edge is up, and this is a classic consumption. So this show has its highest burn in the first, people listen within the first 5 days. And then it's onesie twosies. That trend line is, I love trend lines. Let's go back. Let's look at another episode.
So that, what, in the first 48 hours?
Here's my saying. 90% of podcasts get 90% of their lifetime downloads within the first 96 hours of their show. The new media show, 24, 48, 72, 96. Oh, where's that next number? The new media show gets 90% of their lifetime downloads within the first 110 hours of the podcast. Let me go back and look at this other show that has a little bit longer tail, that I think has a longer tail. I click on that. Trends. Oh, this is interesting. But when was this? Oh, let me get it to one that's consumed on. There we just. Okay, so here's a show that run. Okay, same thing, but this show's 7 days. 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 4 day, 5 days, 6 days, 7, 8, 9. This show's 9 days. They get 99% of their 95% of their downloads within the first 6 or 7 days or 9 or 10 days of their show episode being out. So you're gonna know what the effective burn on your show is by, this crosses over to exactly what we see in our stats.
Well, it also will expose the shows that are evergreen content and ones that are not.
Yeah, sure.
Ones that can sustain significant downloads over a longer period of time are going to be valued more by advertisers.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what about failed or incomplete downloads that are downloaded? We don't know. We see, at least in our system, Rick, we're able to repiece them together when they come back and grab the rest later. So we do that for corporate clients. We don't do that for our podcaster client, our $5 a month accounts. Those accounts, it's still within a 24-hour period, we look at it. So if someone comes back after 24 hours and gets the rest of it, that would be a 2. That we look at a 24-hour period and don't count the IP. We look at that. The new IAB metrics. Maybe this is a good segue. The version 2 of the IAB podcast metrics are on the street. And let me tell you, Rob, this was a year's worth of work. Did you read it? Did you get a chance to go through it?
Yeah, I scanned it a little bit. I didn't spend a lot of time with it yet.
Yeah, it's 11 pages. And let's see here, just give you an idea here who worked on this. Acast, AdGear, AdLarge, AdWiz, Art19. Of course, I never heard an Art19 person in a meeting. Audible, Blog Talk Radio, CBS, Condé Nast, Cox Media, Cyber Communications, Digital Advertiser Consortium, Double Verify, ESPN, Libsyn, Midroll, Minnesota Public Radio, NPR, New York Public Radio, Nielsen, Pacific Content, Pandora, Podcast One, Podtrack, Raw Voice, Blueberry Rhythm One, Sysmic, Slate, Triton Digital, Westwood One, Wide Orbit, and Wondery were the companies that contributed to the document. But I'm going to tell you, there's about 6 or 7 companies in here that were on every call, battling this document out really word for word. I think there's a couple things in here that are really critical that podcast hosting companies are going to have to really look at and see if they're doing. And this document goes a lot farther to getting everything really defined down to the nitty gritty here on time frames, taking into account stuff like you're not the ID3 tag where you've got the header information. You have to make sure that you can read beyond the if a person has a 1.2 meg album art stuck in their ID3 tags, you need to know how big that is to get beyond 1 meg beyond the download of that initial data before you can count all that stuff. The iOS 11 byte 0 request that is made, that can't be counted. All kinds of little things here that we weren't able to get in document 1, did get into document 2. Talks about tying user agents and time periods, and this really goes a long ways. I'm pretty pleased with this document in the way it stands. And then basically folks that do things any different than this doc have to explain in a public document or asked to in a public document, lay out exactly how they do things different and why are they deviating from this, and or do you go deeper? Is there more information? Is there more filtering? Is there more things that you do that you can get data? We even learned a couple things on this exercise, because I went back and said, "Can you get this?" And we had some surprises ourselves. So we even taught some old dogs new tricks on this go around here. But and then we talk about bots and bogus requests and preventing fraud and threshold levels. The threshold level, this was a hard one to get through. There was probably a whole hour spent on 3 sentences.
Wow. Yeah.
But
so Todd, I'm now on this group now, but
you are?
Since I've been on this group now, there hasn't been any calls or meetings, so I haven't been able to participate.
January they'll start with the next round.
So there is going to be a V3?
We're going to talk in January what we're going to do for the year, but I can tell you this: certification is in the pipeline. That's going to be a big part of year 3.
Okay.
And there's going to be some, for a better word, guinea pigs that are going to submit their data, write a check, and the IAB Tech Lab, I think, is going to be going in and doing certification. Now, they're going to ask, why is MRC not going to do certification?
Too expensive.
Well, number one, it's $150,000 at a minimum to do an MRC certification annually. And then they have said that they are not going to certify server-side stuff. You have to have client-side data to get a certification out of MRC.
Wow.
Yep. But there is no client side. The only client side stuff is the stuff that Apple has released, and that's not enough to, we'll all go broke if we just bill on that.
Yeah.
So
client side isn't coming for a long time.
A long time. A long, long time.
Yep. I mean, there's no practical way to do it.
No. It's Apple hasn't even promised if they're going to, they hinted that they may make this data available via API, and we might be able to sometime next year pull this data back within, there's going to have to be an authentication process. The podcaster's going to have to get permission, so it's going to be, we'll see where this goes. But there's still ownership issues. Like I've got a podcast show in my account that I can't get moved. And so there's a lot of that going on. Some of us were early. My Geek News Central audio program, I don't have access to it. It's often some Never land.
It's in some database.
Because I was early. I submitted the show day one that iTunes was available. So for those of us that were in that case, we didn't even put an email address in at the time.
Yeah.
It was just submit. There was no account. There was no Apple account then. So again, it's where is that? Who knows where that feed is or where that. So I can't even look at my own show yet. When my back channel access hasn't got it fixed, then what someone has got front channel, no back channel access. So they're going to have to figure that out. And I've continued to ask for clarification from them too, and I don't think they have a solution yet.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good document. I've been kind of reading more in it while you've been talking.
And it builds upon last year's, and there was some stuff that didn't make the document. We couldn't come to an agreement on a couple of things. But I think overall, I'm very happy to have our name on this thing. And and I think to Rob's point, you guys are members, and you're now back in the committee, and with the combination of Blog Talk and Spreaker. So I think that if you are hosting somewhere, and you're with a company that is claiming or is got statistics, and they've got any type of size, you need to be asking them why they're not participating. Now, it's a big check. It's a painful check to write. Membership is not free in the IAB.
Oh, it's not.
No, and it depends on your ad sales. That's how they determine it. Whatever your ad sales is, there's this chart. And you announce you send them a certification of what your ad sales were for the year, and then they send you your invoice.
Yeah.
But the way we looked at it is there from the very beginning, we have to protect independent podcasters' interest. So, I give kudos to PodTrack and to Libsyn and, of course, us being in there. And then, because you look at all the corporate behemoths that are in there, they're all do their own thing in their own ways. But you've got Acast, they're not actually that big, but AdLarge, you've got AdWiz, you got Audible, you've got Condé Nast, Cox Media Group, you've got public radio in there. And even though their shows make up a tiny, tiny, tiny percentage of the global number of podcasts, when you have the name of Cox Media behind you, and little Todd from Raw Voice Blueberry, but I don't think they may have done stuff behind the scenes. Again, there's 10, 15 total that were, actively in these calls. I wasn't. Angela was. I listened in sometimes when there was an important meeting, but.
Did you hear from anybody specific in the calls from Pandora? Because I see that they're on the list.
I don't remember them. Again, I don't want to speak out of turn. They may or may not been. Sometimes people called in and just listened.
Yeah,
sure. And didn't add their voice. They may have done it back channel to Amit and Steve. So
Pandora seems to be taking an interest more in the podcasting space again.
That's good.
So, yeah, we'll see.
But I think for most podcasters, they're going to read this thing and their eyes are going to glaze over.
But Spotify's not on here, though.
No, they're not.
And the other big one that's missing is Google.
iHeart's not in there either.
Yeah.
So, Google participated 1 year. They were in there. That's
right.
But they weren't in very many meetings. They were only in a few. So I don't know. Google's a member of the IAB.
Yeah.
So they could have someone in here.
Next time I talk to him, I'll ask him about that.
Yeah. And, just so everyone knows.
Sorry, something went wrong.
Oh, that was nice. Did you hear that, Rob?
Yeah, it was my device.
It was your CORTANA device. I think that's who I heard.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, so we're through this. We're through the. It's like, oh my gosh. You get down to the point where, like, I read the document and I read it again and I read it in the airplane again and I read it and I saw one word. And I said, Amit, do we want to use that word? And I said, that could be construed. I said, why don't we use this word? So we were down to like single word changes on this thing. And who knows, stuff may have gotten missed, but people are when they're looking for loopholes or they're looking to pick holes at something, they will take this minutest little thing and tear it apart. Yeah. So I'm not saying there isn't there's room here for more. But I guess we'll see what happens with the next year with the certification and all that.
Yep.
They get this.
So Todd, so the whole topic of if podcasts have a discovery problem popped up.
Wasn't that a beautiful article?
Yes.
Oh my God. I could almost see.
Seth is, actually I got asked that question a long time ago. It took a long time for that article to come out.
It did, but I almost looked at the person's name and their affiliation, and I almost knew the response.
Exactly. Yeah.
If all of you haven't read this, you've got to, because
clear to see the trend lines.
See the trend line.
Yeah.
And again, corporate agendas, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you, if you don't think there's agendas in the podcasting space, read that. And I'll give, let's exclude all the podcasters that were in there. Let's just look at the company executives and who they work for and look at the responses. I think it's incredibly telling. Although a couple of people went off script. I was actually kind of surprised. Oh, I wonder if that got approved by HQ.
And a couple of them, I'm not sure totally understood the question.
Yeah. So it's what was on Ray News? Where was that at? Not Ray
Jacobs
News.
Media.
Jacobs Media. That's right.
Media.com.
Yeah, and they're doing good things. So yeah, if you go over there and read that was a good one. I was just like, oh. It was, yeah. So it almost tells you where the battle lines are drawn.
Well, I think that the battle lines are drawn around those that have been around the podcasting space for many, many years, and those that are relatively new.
Yeah.
That's what I saw.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It's either that or the more, guys like you and I or whatever. I could go through the list and identify who was taking the position that there wasn't a discovery problem.
Right.
And you look at the folks in there that say that there's a discovery problem.
Yep.
And then there's a few others that will kind of like caveat that. They'll say, well, there's a discovery problem because it's just like books and TV and music. There's too much content and people can't find what's good. There's all these little spins on this topic. But it's, at the end of the day, the vast majority of people that commented here commented that there was not a discovery problem. It was more of a podcaster not being discovered problem.
Right.
So not a listener discovery problem.
Yeah.
So,
Rob, I've got a confession to make.
Okay.
I'm very close to leaving Windows.
I did see that post on Facebook. I was interested in that.
So I did determine what my problem was at 5:40 something this morning.
Oh, okay.
But it's still, so it's little things. I had an update, the fall update come in. And it does its thing, it does its update. And I leave the computer alone. And I come in and I did my show on Thursday. And I uploaded it. And the first thing I do is I always go on my website and I double check. I just click on the player and the video and the audio. It's just, 13 years I have it. I know it's there. I know it's going to play, but I just do it, right?
Yep.
And I clicked on it and they didn't play. I'm like, browser problem. So I load another browser. Same thing. Click on them. They load like the first 10 seconds and they don't play. And I'm like, what's going on? I download the media and I load it and it doesn't play. And I'm like, I'm kind of using some expletives at this time. I'm cussing at the computer because there was a couple of YouTube videos I wanted to watch too. I was done that day. So I turn right here and there's my Mac Pro's right there. And what I watch the chat room in and I travel with this and I loaded up and bada bing, it played. Well, I was frustrated and I went to bed and I didn't have time to mess with it yesterday. And this morning I'm looking. So I load the audio window up and I do in Windows where you can do a test.
Yeah.
And I don't hear the ding. It's not dinging. And I'm like, what's going on? So I go to audio properties and default has now been, the audio out's been set to a Blackmagic card I have in the device instead of the line out in the back of the computer.
Yeah.
So I changed the default to the line out on the back of the computer and voila.
It works.
It works.
Yeah.
This thing, okay, this is ridiculous. If Windows doesn't have a good audio source to go out, it won't play the audio or video. It physically, you won't even see the minute number progress.
Yeah. It breaks the whole thing, right?
Breaks the whole thing.
Yeah.
If it had kept playing, if it had just, the counter would have kept counting, 02, 03, 04. I'm like, oh, there's no audio. I would immediately went to the audio thing and said, oh, well, yeah, it's not selected. Duh. Click, click, and I'm on. But no, the counter stopped counting.
Yeah. It's crazy.
And there's a 12 gauge shotgun with buckshot.
You were tempted, weren't you?
Yes. It's just, I don't have, to be honest with you, I don't have time for BS. I don't have time. Every computer is going to give you trouble. It doesn't matter. If I go to Mac in 2 weeks, I'll have something with it having a problem. But,
throw it out the window. It's a flying Windows computer.
It's a good computer too, so it's been spared a little bit, but I saw those new iMac Pros and I was just, chomping at the bit, and I went over there and logged in and looked at the Apple beautiful, space gray. And I said, okay, let me configure this bad boy and click, click, click. And here's the features I want. Click, click, click. And
sticker shock.
$13,000. And I'm like, and I'm thinking 13, do you know what kind of a Windows machine I can buy for $13,000?
Yeah, that'd be quite a
or
machine.
how many machines I can buy for $13,000.
Yeah, you could probably buy 13 of them.
What kind of crack are they smoking over there? $13,000. No.
Now you know why I'm on Windows, Todd. I mean, I did spend $2,000 on my Surface tablet.
Oh, okay, that 2,000. I understand. If you're doing video editing and stuff like that, $1,700 is, that's right where we're at.
Yeah.
I've got a Mac Pro here that was about $2,000. The machine here that's beside me, the desktop that's 3-4 years old, it was $1,800. The trash can I use for video editing, that was the most expensive computer wasn't the most expensive one I've ever bought, but it's the most expensive one in the studio. And the video processing time between the trash can and my new Mac Pro is like a minute, so that's the performance edge now between the Mac Pro and the trash can. The Mac Pro. Okay, it looks like a trash can.
I know. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's just funny that you call it a trash can.
So and that machine's a 2013 machine, so it's but
yeah, I think you pay probably like $4,900 for that.
I paid close to maybe a little more, maybe close to $6,000 because when I buy them, I buy everything I can with them. And then I run them until they explode.
Yeah. Exploding trash cans.
Yeah,
exciting.
I want to, to be honest with you, from a business perspective, you want to get as many years out of it as you can, right?
Oh, yeah.
At $6,000, that bad boy, it better be 6, 7, 8 years before I need to replace it. But after, it was dealing with this Windows issue. I'm like, that might give me an excuse, but I can't justify that kind of money for a desktop computer. I might buy a regular iMac, but the base unit, $5,000, probably is a great machine, probably better than everything we've got sitting here. But if you're going to buy a performance computer, you get all the upgraded processors. You do all that stuff but 13. Okay, I can understand like $1,000 or $1,500 in upgrades, but $8,000 in upgrades.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It's a lot of money. It's $13,000. That's, for most people, that's more than their house payment for a whole year. For a computer.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And yet there are fanboys out there that have already smacked their credit card because they have to have it.
Yeah.
So we are doing something new in the studio. I don't know. I don't think you can see it. I wonder if I can show it with this camera. Let me see here. Let me bring this up on the side and turn you. Oh, wrong way. Okay, so no, maybe not. Let me zoom out. Can I see this? Nope, I can't. So, Rob, officially, we are now one camera away in the studio from being a completely IP-based system. So I only have one camera left in the studio that is non-IP based. So I have two cameras here, 2.2 zoom cameras that are NDI supported with new tech. So we've replaced two cameras, and now I've moved the camera that used to be center shot is over here, but I got two exact cameras on the right. So everything is being fed. There is no cable, physical video cable. There's no power cable. Everything goes one cable, LAN cable, to a PoE switch, and it's all IP based. So everything that we've been doing today, the video has been sent over the network. So these cameras these two are pretty close. Balance. Well, no, that one, this one, and this one. So you can see the color balance is pretty close between the two. So you're coming in via IP. So I think we've got to think of it. So, and we're up on two streams. So I think we've got that kind of figured out.
Yeah, I think that the video quality looks better too.
It definitely is better. Yeah, there's a little bit of a one. I think we've got I'm up to maybe 4 frames in post processing, so that I used to have to slide the audio to the right 3 frames. Now I think I have to slip to 4. That was kind of expected. But it's really maybe 3.5 frames on lip sync and unless you're like looking really close, you can't see it anyway. You might be a little bit of a lag, but overall, I'm knock on wood. I think I'll be the first podcaster to have an almost a completely IP-based publishing platform. I mean, we beat Leo. Leo has not switched from wired to NDI yet. So, of course, he's got 60 cameras to replace. I only had 3. And at $2,500 a piece, you don't replace those very quickly.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It's expensive.
Yeah, it gets real expensive. So, all right. I think I'm on the right camera now. Yeah, there we go. Oh, there we go. I actually got them backwards. I got to renumber them. So anyway, have we covered everything? And we're not going to end up being 3 hours.
No, I don't think so. I think we did cover pretty much all the big stuff.
And I think the talking is helping you. You're sounding better.
Yeah. It has. I've been drinking water too.
Yeah. Yeah.
That helps.
Pile it on.
It helps a little bit.
So I do have a question for the audience out there. Any of you that are using, what are you guys using for KVM these days? What the hell is that? I don't think that's my house. Someone's smoke detector went off. So what are you guys using now for KVMs between? How many of you have both Windows and Macs in your house, and you're flipping between 2 of them? Are you just using USB switch box now these days, or what are you using? I'm kind of curious. So,
there's no Macs in this house.
I don't think there would be, but we're gonna have to work on that. I'm an equal opportunity basher. Next week I'll be mad at the
Hey,
Macs.
there's talk now that Microsoft could be the first company to hit $1 trillion valuation.
Well, they're definitely not doing it on selling hardware. They're helping.
That's true. That's true.
And their cloud is adding to their bottom line too. So, but the cloud stuff is pretty exciting. Let's see here. Oh yeah. Rick says, it's like buying a $1,200 Gucci handbag. About $20 pays for a bag. The rest pays for the sewing on a Gucci label. Yeah, I agree. Tim says Todd needs another touchpad. And yeah, so what we've got here, Tim, is this is a top monitor, bottom monitor, and this is another Mac that's not being used. So I know you can see those in the background there. Eileen says, I only have Mac. And the reason I didn't go with Mac, and I'll never go with Mac for the audio recording, is the Mac is far less superior on audio quality than a PC. And it's largely because PCs still have a true amplifier. Of course, some people are just doing USB now too, so that doesn't matter. But it used to be when you did a direct connection into the PC, they had a true amplifier, and then the Macs had a digital one. But if you're just doing over a USB bus, then that's kind of mute at this point. But I feed this machine with FireWire that's over here doing the audio recording. But I'm much more happy with running the audio recordings on the PC.
Todd, I saw a comment in Twitter from Jim Harold, who's a longtime podcaster. He tweeted a response to the discoverability article.
Yeah.
And he wrote, I think the hidden idea here is that all these little indies are too prominent and gumming up the works for the real pros. Thus, the need for curation and funneling podcasts into walled gardens where we can keep those pesky indies out.
What?
I think he's being a little facetious here, but I think that's the message that he was getting from the other guys, right?
What is his Twitter handle?
The Jim Harold. So he actually replied to my tweet about that Discovery article from Jacobs Media.
Yeah.
So
do you think he was being tongue in cheek, or do you think he was serious?
Yes. Well, I think he's serious from the standpoint that he thinks that those folks in there are taking that perspective.
I think Rob.
The ones that,
Rob replied to it, and he had flames, in quotes, affirmation to all indie podcasters because we are pretty awesome. That is all. And at the Jim Harold is pretty. Oh, so I'm reading it here.
Yeah.
Oh, he does say just a podcaster since 2005. So he is saying it tongue in cheek.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's saying what the unwritten perspective is.
Oh, yeah.
Is that the indies need to be funneled into, need to keep the indies out because they're messing up the waters for the real pros.
Well, yeah, it's true. They hate it. They hate the indies.
Yeah, that's kind of the underlying message.
And there are certain podcast writers that only talk about public radio related type shows. They got their nose so far up their bunghole that that's all they can see. They don't see the rest of the space.
Well, because those folks are the real pros, Todd. We're the problem children out here.
Oh man.
Gunking up the works, as they say.
Yeah. And not even, and what's funny is not even acknowledged sometimes. Not even, I laugh about it. It's kind of funny. It used to really make me mad. But, now it's just like, of course. They don't want to even indicate there's anybody on the outside. And it's how does so the public radio folks spoke about RAD and how we need to have RAD be adopted. And I don't know if we talked about this on the last show, but how does, if you hung around for a good rant here, how does a group that has less than one half, let's use it, 0.25 of 1% of the entire podcasting space shows, how, in public radio, you shall adopt this because we are God.
Well, Todd, and it even goes beyond that. It's like there's people out there saying in articles that NPR is the biggest podcaster in the world.
Oh, yeah, right.
And it's like, really?
Right.
I don't know what you're talking about.
They ought to check on ESPN.
NPR has, let me put it this way. It's not to depreciate what NPR does. I think they do terrific podcasts.
Yeah.
But they only have 40 podcasts. That's all they have. They are not the biggest podcaster in the world.
And I can't, and because of my NDA, I can't say how many podcasts ESPN or how big they are, but I can absolutely assure you they are one of the biggest.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of ones that just popped to my mind right away that could be the biggest.
There's one.
That'd be like BBC is one.
There's another network. There's another network has 600 shows. 600, almost 700 shows.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even iHeartRadio is bigger than that.
Oh my God! Does iHeart have their own shows?
Yeah,
that's funny.
But I mean, those shows that are done by their radio stations, if you're counting those too. So I guess what there needs to be is, because there's companies out there making claims that they're like the second largest podcast,
Oh yeah, I saw that. And I'm like, who? My first question was, I saw the name. I was like, I had to Google them. I didn't know who they were.
Yeah. And it's like, there needs to be some sort of a common metric for this, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what is the biggest? What qualifies the biggest? The most shows, the most sales, the most What is it?
Yeah,
Right?
and just like the PodTrack top list every month, okay,
Oh, that's
it's
BS.
it's okay. I love Mark and the guys over there, but it is so much bullshit. Oh my god!
Well, it's just a sampling of the space
Of their shows, yeah,
Yeah.
So it's okay.
I mean, it's great that they're actually trying to
Yeah,
put something together
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
But you can't portray it as something that
No,
is
it's
actually inclusive of the whole space.
These are the biggest,
Yeah. Because it's not.
and then pressure third parties. Well, if you want to, you have to use our stats if you want on this list.
Yeah, right.
So all it is a marketing vehicle to get more people on their stats. That's all that is.
Yeah.
So Todd can come out with a top 10 list too. And then, Rob and and everyone, that's not a top 10 list. They should say this is PodTrack's top 10. If they did that, it wouldn't be so bent. We had quite the discussion. It kind of got heated one time about their list and how they portray it.
Yeah.
We're all friends, but I stated my opinion.
Exactly. Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, it's and we didn't even cover all the other. There's a lot of news, a lot of stuff going on. So there's you definitely follow podtopod.com. They're on top of syndicating a lot of the content out there. The podcasternews.com site. They're doing a lot of original articles about different stuff that's going on in the space too. So that's a way to kind of keep abreast of what's happening.
So did you hear about these the 2017 Discover Pods?
I did. In matter of fact, we
to do awards.
Yeah,
they do podcast awards.
Yeah, they and that team's well intentioned. They did a good job. I think there's plenty of room for and I didn't even look at the winners. I guess they announced them. So let me actually bring that screen up. And
I think it's a call. Was it? It's a call for nominations started on October 20th.
Yeah. So we had done some tweeting for them to talk about it.
Yeah.
But let's see here. Who won? Best overall podcast, S-Town, runner-up, WTF. That's why, here's the deal. A lot of the same. Best new podcast, S-Town, runner-up, Ear Hustle. Ear Hustle is a good show. Best podcast episode, again, S-Town, runner-up, Dan See, these are a lot of the same shows again and again. Most innovative podcast, Case File, runner-up, Ear Hustle. Desert Island podcast. I don't know what that means. True Crime Garage, runner-up, This American Life. By the way, This American Life will never email. I have all of This American Life's trophies still. People's Choice, Small Town Murder, runner-up, Wine and Cut. They shouldn't use that. I may have to send them a note on that category. Best Production Company, NPR, runner-up, Radiotopia. Best True Crime Podcast. Again, S-Town. Some of the same. These are repeats. Again, a lot of NPR focus here.
Yeah.
Where's the indies? Where's the independent podcast there, Discover Pods? A lot of these shows I've never listened to.
Yeah.
But I don't consume a lot of NPR content either.
But it's a sign of the diversity of the industry right now, too. There's a lot of different shows that not everybody listens to.
And there's a flavor that's the best thing from A to Z. There's a topic for everybody.
Yep.
I don't think there's basket weaving yet, but
yeah. We sure talk about it a lot, though. There should be.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to do it. The underwater basket weaving is the favorite one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's one of our test sites.
Yes.
So, but hey, I didn't realize this, but you guys actually put something in your system that allows people that want to use our stats on your system. I didn't even realize you guys did that. Thanks, Rob. I appreciate it.
Yeah. As far as our redirect,
yeah,
Yep.
Awesome. I told Mike was talking to me about this. I said, well, you can't do it over there. So no, they've had that in for a while. I'm like, really? He says, yeah, we have a page on the website. And I'm like, well, I'll have to thank Rob. So.
We just snuck it in on you, Todd.
Yeah. If we could just get Podbean to do that, if we could just get them to work. We got so many shows over there that want to do ad deals, but they're locked into their stat system and can't. So anyway, that's for another story. All right, I think we're about run out of here. We're probably losing people on our podcast stats.
Yeah, it's dropping fast.
So everyone that's listened to the show, we want to hear your feedback on what are you seeing? What are you disgruntled about? What do you like? What insights are you gaining from the new metrics that Apple has provided? Or do you have not enough data? like some shows. Some shows do. But I do have to show something off, Rob. I put a call out on my show for a specific item. And I had no success in securing one on my own, and I missed out on their first version, but look what I got. Do you know what that is?
Oh, it's a Super Nintendo.
Classic edition. This is the hardest to get item. And this is... And my son's begging me, let me open it up. I said, no.
No, you're going to keep it in the box.
Well, no, we're going to play it, but I'm going to very carefully unpack it and make sure nothing gets jacked. And then when we get done, we're very carefully going to put together. I'm not going to sell it, but this was a score. And I just paid regular retail for it. Someone's able to get an extra one in a bundle deal. Of course, Nintendo's saying they're going to make enough for everybody, but yet they're the scarcest item. You can't get it. Good luck. So I didn't get the first one because I wanted the classic, and I missed out on it. So, and again, I'm not a gamer, but these type of little classic edition things really intrigue me. Did you get your Christmas shopping done yet?
No. Of course not.
Mine's done. I got 2 cameras here, so I think I've got enough for 10 Christmases. But
yeah.
So yeah, my Christmas shopping is done. I don't know what to. My wife wants the Apple Watch, and but how do you go buy the Apple Watch for her without her being there to see what color and band and I maybe I just get the gift certificate for her to go get one. I mean, do they sell a gift certificate that big? At Apple?
Possibly. I would think so.
Yeah, I would think so. Or maybe a couple.
Yeah.
But also, here's something I want to remind people. And just because I forget about it. If you have a credit card that you're getting points on, some of those credit cards have, and this is just a public service announcement here, some of those credit cards, the points expire over time. And I cash mine in and Amazon gift cards. So that instead of getting cash, I got $250 in Amazon gift cards. So take your points on your credit cards and get those things cashed in, or because don't let them push off the other end. Not all credit cards expire, or credit card points expire, but some do. If you have a credit card that it is of that type. So
yeah. Cool.
Okay.
All right. Todd.
Everyone, thanks for being here. Todd at blueberry.com or at Geek News on Twitter. Rob?
Rob at robgreenlee.com or Rob at Spreaker.com. So it's a great place to get me.
And thanks for fighting through the sore throat, and hope it didn't make it better, and hope you're feeling better. And the thing to look forward to, Rob, is you've knocked it out. You've had your cold. You're good for the rest of the winter.
That's right.
Yeah.
I can't catch another one.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Until you go to Vegas for CES.
Yeah. I'm not going to Vegas for CES. I'm just going to NAB.
Yeah. And we've had a lot of people on YouTube today. Thanks for being with us on YouTube. We've had a good crowd on YouTube today. So don't forget, we're at newmediashow.com/live as well. But we'll see everyone next time here on the New Media Show. Everyone take care.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.